And I just finished giving like a 1 hour 30 minutes class to a few people at Gracify Technologies, but I realized I didn't press the record button. So I'm a little bit tired now after 1 hour of class, but I'll try to just record the whole thing again to myself, and so then I can post later to the guys so they don't miss the class. All right? So yeah, if you look here at my screen, I hope you can see it. You have like so this will be creating at the end, right? So this is an Next.js page with a form here with a username and a password, right? That you can create users, and then it shows you the feedback, and then you can fetch a users, right? So for example, if I create a some user 123, and then some password there, I don't know, whatever password, and then create user, yeah, it shows success, create a user, right? And then if you fetch, you have the user here created, right? So this is what we're gonna build today again. uh, some other user, yeah, success, and then if you fetch some other users here, right? So this is the Next.js frontend connecting to the backend, and I'll just record the whole thing again and wish me luck, and let's do this. So the first thing is you should run the npx create next app latest command with a flag TypeScript, so it works with TypeScript, right? And then the name of your folder, client. So I'll just run it in the root. So cd, let's just run it in the root, okay? And then let's wait a little bit for it to create the Next.js. Okay, so do you want to use ESLint? I think not, it's not my preference. Do you want to use the unit CSS? Yes, I like that. src directory, yes. Experimental app, no. Import alias, I just press enter, and then let's see, it's creating the client. Yeah, so it's installing the dependencies. Yeah, creates here the client with our pages. So the app.tsx and the document.tsx. And this is our basic structure of our Next.js page, right? So we can start by just removing all this thing here, because this is just the basic Next.js page. So I just put like div and then call it home page here. And then I can also remove the styles, except for Tailwind. I need to leave Tailwind CSS. And then if I run this, so cd client with yarn dev, I should get like our starting page up and running. Let's see. Yeah, my PC is a little slow today, but let's see. Home page, right? So okay, so now we have the front end. So this is the basic, our clients. But now, so today we're gonna build like a. Since we're gonna be improving on the backend as well, so we need to have a few routers here. So yeah. Okay, so now on our backend, we need to create a controller here, controllers folder. Right, we're gonna add the controllers. So this one could be called user.controller.es, and then what we do here is like we have a few functions here. Export set find all. Let me just close all this stuff. So this is gonna be a function to get all the users. Async rec res, and then exports dot create. So this is the one to create the user, right? So res. So this gets all the users, and this creates a user. Okay. So now, yeah, we need to make a few changes here in the routes. So we can rename this to users.routes.ts, and then yeah, and then I want to be calling this from this file here. So what I'm gonna do is like call. I'm gonna import the routes here and then call it passing the app. Okay. So what I'm gonna do here to do it this way is like I'm gonna remove here this, and I'm gonna export just the whole thing from inside the model.exports, but I'm gonna add like a parameter here called app. Okay. And then here I'm gonna use the controllers actually. So instead of defining our logic here, I'm gonna separate here is only the routes, okay? And then the routes are gonna use the controllers. So for example, users. So here I'm gonna require in the controller. So controllers dot user and controller, and then router dot get. So users dot find all, okay? And then here the post, and then create here. Yeah, so if I call my users route with a get method, it should find all users, and if I post to the user route, it should create a user, okay? And then I'm just gonna say here, okay, then the Express app should use this router that I just defined in the API-users path, okay? So router. So if I call localhost slash API slash users, then it should have this route to these controllers. Okay, so then I need to use these controllers actually in my index.ts. So here we need a few things. We need course. I'll just add course here. So const course equals require course, and then yeah, instead of using like a simple route like this, I'll just can just remove this. I'll just say okay, so now app.use course, so origin http / localhost 3000. Okay, so what's this doing is saying, okay, so my backend can be accessed from localhost 3000 but from nowhere else. Okay, so this is a safety measure. And then but you need to define this, or else your front end can't connect to the backend. Okay, and then use also, so let's say yes / users. You need also to use express.json, so your express router accepts JSON requests, which you're going to use. And then if you send a form using URL encoded data, like for example, I have a URL like let me see, like https some website.com. So some website.com / API, slash users, and then I have a question mark like this. So this is URL encoded data, right? So for example, username equals my name. So in order to for Express to understand this URL encoded data, you need to use URL encoded, and then we always set extended to true. I'm not sure what this does, but I think we always use it. At least I have. And then yeah, and then since I defined my routes in the user.routes file, I can now import my routes like this. Routes users.routes, and then I pass the app, right? Because then if I pass the app here on the routes, I can set inside of the route itself, so it's more clean here on this file, so it doesn't get too big, right? And then I can change the port here to 4000, so it's different from my front end, and yeah, and then I think I can already run it. Let's see, server. So yeah, let's yarn dev to compile the TypeScripts. Compilation in watch mode, yeah. And then server yarn start to actually start a server, okay? Should run on port 4000. Yeah, and then if I go here to Postman, I can probably, yeah, so because my controller isn't returning anything yet, I think I need to add some code here first. Okay, so for example here I can just use my user model. So I just do import user from dot models user.model, and here inside here just do user.find all, then data res.send data, right? So this is just promise chaining, it's just finding all the users and then sending them back. And then if there's an error, you catch the error here, and then you send a message here. Status, you can set it to 500. That means internal server error, I think, or server error or something like that. And then send. And then message can be error.message or some error. Oops, too many R's occurred while retrieving users. Okay, then now it should return something when I run it. So let me run my server again, and yeah, let's see. So if I just go here and send a request, yeah, it's returned the users I already have there. But I'm gonna go here to the MySQL workbench, and I'm going to search for the users, and I'm just gonna delete everything. Okay, so we start from scratch. So I just click apply here. Yeah, I'm deleting all the users. Yeah, users deleted. So now if I go back to Postman and I send the API slash users, yeah, empty array, see? So now it's an empty array. Now I can define some logic to create the user. So what this should do is like a const username password equals rec.body. So now it's getting the username and password, and if not username or not password, then res.send. I always like to use this success because if I say success is false, then it's because it didn't work. So it's easy to know if it worked or not. Instead of throwing a bunch of errors, I prefer it that way, just a personal preference, okay? Must provide username, email, and password. And then I just return. So if there's no username and no password, you throw an error. And then if you did provide them, let's build a user object here. So username, password, and then const created user equals await user.create user. Okay, so if not created a user, so if I call the Sequelize method user.create and for some reason it doesn't create, then there's an error, right? You didn't create the user. So I'll just send success equals false, and then response something went wrong when creating user. Okay, and then I just return. And then if it passes all this stuff, I mean if it does create the user, then it's a success, right? So then you just write as a send, you say success equals true, and then response user created successfully. Okay, so that gets rid of my backend. So my backend is probably working now. You can create and find users. Okay, so then I can go back to the front end now. Yeah, where's my front end again? Clients, src, pages, index.js. Okay, so here I can remove all these because I'm not gonna use. And I need to create something to connect my front end to the backend, which is the API, right? So this is the automatically generated, but I'm not gonna use it. So I'm just gonna delete this one. And I'm gonna create my own API.tsx file. Okay. So API.tsx. I like to use Axios, which is like a package that lets you make HTTP requests. So I just import Axios from Axios, and then I'll just define here my API URL. So what's gonna be my API URL? So if process.env.nodenv, so this nodenv, you already have it on Next.js environment, you don't need to define it. So if it's a production environment, then question mark here, right? So this is a ternary operator. So this is how it works. There's a condition, right? Is nodenv equals production? If so, something. So this is the question mark. If not, something else. Okay, this is a ternary operator. So API URL is gonna be, if production is set, it's gonna be something. If production is not true, then it's gonna something else. Okay, so here I'm gonna just put some bogus production URL, and then here HTTP localhost 4000 API. Okay, then yeah, then I'm gonna create a method here, create instance, receives my base URL, and then it's going to create the Axios instance. Okay, so base URL equals base URL. Sorry, but it's a colon here actually because it's an object. Okay, and then headers. So this should be content type, and then application slash JSON. All right, and then return the instance. So because it's complaining a little bit here, okay, so you don't have Axios, so just add Axios here in the front end. Where it is here. Yarn add Axios, and then because it's complaining a little bit of any here, yeah, for now I'm just gonna allow implicit any. So this is a bad practice, but it makes it a little bit easier to code, and then you should remove this to type everything correctly, okay? So it doesn't complain here of a base URL. I think it's just loading, but it's gonna remove this. Should remove this red line. Let me see if I just Control Shift P, and then restart the TypeScript server, and then yeah, should be removed. So yeah, so this is my API object. Okay, so now I can connect, I can send a request to the backend. So I can just import API. Oh, sorry, I forgot to export. So here, export default, create instance API URL. Okay. So then I can just come here and do import API. Yeah, then I can start coding something here. So for example, h1 yeah, so I can just add a bottom here, bottom. Then let's see, so fetch users. So we could call a function called fetch users that just calls my API. So const result equals await API dot get slash users. So because I use the await, I need to put async here on the function for it to work. And then I just set here my users. I can have a state variable here, users, set users, use state, right? And then I just import use state. And then when I receive it, I can set it. So set users result.data. Okay. So yeah, so now I can display my, if I did get the users. So if I did get the users, so this is a condition. Then I add an and sign. So if the condition is true, then return me a component, right? So this component can be, so this is just it's like a wrapper for a JSX component, and I'll just do h1 here, list of users, and then I can have JSON.stringify users. Okay, and then let's see if this works. Let's run our client again. Oh yeah, bottom on click should call fetch users. And then if you go here to the page, just refreshing it. Yeah, So here a little bit. What else do we need? So fetch users, just a button, and then we have like create user form, right? That's the next thing. It's almost compiling, almost done, I think. Yeah. So that's a fetch users button, right? We can style this button a little bit. So class name equals I don't know, could be bg blue 500 text white, and then rounded as same to round the edges a little bit. So I can add a border, and this border can be rounded a little bit, right? And also I can add some padding of 2, so both horizontal and vertical padding. This can be a little bit bigger, so probably MD. Yeah, that looks good, I think. So fetch users. So if I do click it, unsupported protocol. What is this? Await API.get. Oh, seems to be a problem. Yeah, so just a silly mistake here. I had put HTTPO instead of HTTP. So now if I put HTTP, it should be fine. And then let's see fetch users. Yeah, list of users. It shows me empty array. Okay, so now we just need to have some code here to actually add the users. So I'll start by, so this is fetch users. I start by creating a form here. So so create a user and then a form. No, form. Okay, with a button inside called create. This button should be of type submit. Okay, and then yeah, and then some input fields here. Input equals, sorry, input type text placeholder username, right? So then, yeah, let's see how it's looking. Yeah, so we have an input here with placeholder username. I think the bottom needs a little bit of a margin top here. Margin top 4. Let me just check. So margin top 4, right? And then username here, and then it needs a password field as well. So type password, password. Yeah, and then we need to add a few refs here to get the values from the from these fields. Username ref, use ref, and then a password ref, and then we just set here on each field a ref field, right? So username ref, and then here the password ref. Okay, so now the password ref, yeah, result get the users. Okay, so we need to have a function here on submit. So this on submit is called because I have a button with type submit here, so this is default from React. So it just calls it calls here the function I can create here called maybe create a user. Okay, async and then let's see. So I get here const result equals await API.post dash users, So I'm posting a new user with username, which is going to be my username ref.current.value, and my password, which is gonna be my password ref.current.value. Okay, I'll just complain a little bit about the how do I fix it? It's possibly no. Okay, so if it's no, I'll just add a few question mark here. So if valid, okay, so oh yeah, I just need to type the ref. For now, I just use any, because I don't remember the type actually. But let's see. Yeah, so I'm just posting the user. Got some error there, but not to worry for now. So now I just need to put some feedback somewhere, because I'm going to create a user, right? So feedback, set feedback equals use state, and then here down here, if I do create, if there is feedback, just show me the feedback, right? So I create a p and just put here the zone, the stringify feedback. Okay, so if there's feedback, to show the feedback on the screen. So yeah, set feedback result, not data. All right. And then let's see, create user. So on submit, create a user. Sorry, create a user. All right. So this is going to, I'm not sure, but I think this is gonna work. Create user. Yeah, let's style it a little bit the bottom. Okay, so let's set a class name like this. Yeah, so MD SM. This is just the sizing of the WinCSS, right? So SM is small, MD is medium, and I think LG is large. I'm just using MD because I think it's a little bit of nice rounded corners. And then on the bottom here, class name. I'll just make it green though, to make it a little bit different. Yeah, so create bottom, right? Then what I can do here is like, okay, so if I call this create right now, it will create, but you have a problem. I'll show you. So now some user, so fetch users, right? No users. So if I do fetch users, some user, some password, and then create, and it refresh the page, which I don't want this to happen. Okay, so I do fetch users. I think it failed actually, which is weird. Yeah, because I don't think I refresh my server. So I'll just refresh it here, and then let's see. Let's try again. Yeah, so it creates a user, right? But to refresh the page, which is some behavior that I don't want. So I'll just delete here this user. Let me just find it and then delete. Okay, so user is deleted now. Yeah, I need to add something here because so when you when you submit a form, it has this default behavior of refreshing the page, right? So what you need to do to avoid it is just anytime you define a function like this, it is the same as defining it like having an event variable here and then passing it with an event parameter here, right? You see? And then you should have the parameter defined here. But this is exactly the same if you just remove it and just leave it like this. It will still have the event parameter, right? So the event parameter is the default for the forms, where you can call events.prevent default behavior. So the prevent default is like it will avoid the screen from from refreshing when you submit a form. So you can create some user here, let's say Guilherme, and some password, and then create. Yeah, created, and says didn't refresh the page, which we wanted, and then says success true, user created successfully, and then you can fetch users. Okay, so that's good. I think that's it. That's what I wanted to do. So if I just do some other thing here, God will, I don't know, whatever password, and then fetch users. Yeah, you see, it works. So this is what I wanted to do actually. Yeah. Uh, I'm sorry if I was a little bit tired in this class because I had to do it again actually from scratch because I didn't record the first time. I gave like a 1 hour and a half class and I didn't record. So I had to record the whole thing again, so I'm a little bit tired. But hopefully you guys could understand. What we basically did today was we created like a front end, right? It's a very small, simple full stack application. Just post some data to the backend and then displays the data back in the front end. Okay, so I think that's it for today. Next class we should continue and maybe make the login and yeah, login, logouts, and then make a few functions to delete and update the database. And then we should build on top of that until, well, it's gonna be a while, but until we have a good full stack application. Okay, so that's it guys. I'm gonna take a break now, and yeah, thanks for watching. Bye bye.